All right, so pretty much everyone that's here is already familiar with the studio. So I'm just gonna do a brief thing for the recording. Okay, you guys can sit right there for a second. All right, so this is the pitch session for Mon River Games, community-oriented game studio, located out of Morgantown, West Virginia. Okay, so trying to service generally this area at the top. Okay, if we had people that were down here, we would connect with them remotely. That would be fine. Mission statement is to provide affordable and professional educational experiences within the game industry. Okay, primarily that's through group work, like learning how to work as a whole team. It's a general timeline right here of what we did. Okay, so when the idea was made, different sessions we had, first community summer session, the person that we have, one of the people that we have online with us today is Ryan. Ryan started with us in the summer. He's a community session leader. So he's kind of like our side from the community side that is directing that side while I teach all of you guys. So hi Ryan. And then we have another person that's here to listen. And these were our pilot groups. These are games that we made the first time. We were really aggressive the first time, big high goals like we usually do, overscoped for sure. But as time progressed, we realized that we needed to cut that down a little bit. Okay. If we go down here, and then we cut it down even more. But we're usually around 1 to 3 games a session. It's going to depend on how the session's being run. If we're doing it during class time, it's going to be 2 or 3. Next things to think about are this one's today. We are going to be in person Saturday, some of us at least, in Pittsburgh, but also the College of Creative Arts. College of Creative Arts is 1 p.m. to 9 p.m. I hear now. I would say 1 to 5 is your best time to just kind of look around for a little bit. I don't think there's going to be enough to fill that entire time slot, but so that's just here on the West Virginia University campus. We'll have a couple of our games playing there. Notably, Spy Cats will have a demo build up. Fingers crossed. And then we'll be at the Halloween Bit Bridge event. That's in Pittsburgh. Brian will be joining us. Some Brother Studio members will be there, like Zach. We'll see if anyone else we can convince to come along. And then in February, we have this event. Okay. And these are just contact areas. If you need to contact us, if you want membership information, send me an email here. I can give you information. Our next session after this student session that ends in December is going to run from early December with kind of a holiday break until May. This group's going to be all volunteer based again, like the summer session was. It can be students and community members. Anyone that wants to join will be welcomed, and we'll again work together for the whole 5 months, trying to solidify projects we already have, as well as come up with new ideas. So without much further ado, let's bring our first group up here. You can click on, I got signed out. Okay, just a sec. Oh, that is lame. Okay, let's try that again. So from Discord, drive slides. All right. Perfect. Okay. All right. Come on up. Okay. Introduce yourselves and then you can start your pitch. You guys will have somewhat familiar with Mac. Should I bring with a mouse?
I think we're good. Thank you.
All right, hello everyone. So I'm Tessa Lemire and I'm part of Professor Cole's class. Hello everyone, I'm also the test dummy today as the first group. My name is Tessa Lemire and I'm part of Professor Cole's advanced game design class.
And I'm Kayla Stein and I'm also part of Professor Cole's advanced game design class.
And today we would like to present to you Self-Conscious, a more dark-like themed game. So the idea is that the player will have an opportunity to work with our character as he battles through a coma. Inside this coma, he can fight the mental aberrations and confront his previous traumas to help wake him up.
to talk a little bit about the game mechanics, we're imagining a 2D dungeon roguelike. There's continuous rooms where doors shut behind you, so you're locked in the current level. And throughout the level, the player is progressively debuffed. This could be slowing the character, it could be screen modifications such as static or blur that are connected to the trauma that they're experiencing.
So tying into the main theme of death is useful. So as with any roguelike, you're going through multiple rooms continuously and the door shuts behind you. And at that point, that's whenever a debuff can gradually be applied. So if you die earlier in the level than the end, then you restart and you end up back at the beginning and your debuff will reset as well with you. Now, here's the thing, right before you encounter your trauma, you kind of have like a boss-like area or the hardest part of the dungeon. Once you get through, you then encounter that trauma. Now that trauma that you meet is kind of a big event. Maybe it's whenever you're younger at the beginning, it could be like a dog dying. Maybe later on in life, it could be something like, unfortunately, you lose a child or something like that. But the whole idea of the trauma is that it instantly kills you. There's no way to avoid it. You've already completed the hard part and this resets you. So the interesting about that is whenever that happens, we had the idea that you would flash to another scene where you would then see yourself waking up in the hospital gradually. So at the beginning, maybe it flashes and you just kind of hear the beeping and the rustling of the hospital activities. Maybe you start to be able to see, your eyes open and flicker as you go throughout this.
And to continue on that notion, we really wanted to split our mood board into that kind of the two scenes that we talked about. So on the left, you'll kind of see more of like what you might see or what you might feel of the tone of the game when you're kind of like in that hospital waking up or like flashing back to memories that you've actually had. And on the right, we have, let me move this over a little bit, what you might experience while you're in the coma in the levels, more like dark kind of aberrations that are connected to something that you might have experienced. We were kind of spitballing and you can see that like spooky looking dog down there. Maybe you got bit by a dog, maybe something tragic happened with a family pet, just kind of like darker machinations of something that you've experienced.
Yeah, I think that's a really good summary of it. We just really wanted to touch on both the real life horror aspects and the fear of being in the hospital, especially from the player's point of view, and then the aberrations of these things coming to life. And well, that's our game pitch for Self-Conscious. I hope you enjoyed.
Group number 2, you can come on up. I'm going to escape from this slide. All right. Nick, is yours up here?
Yeah, it's titled Nick.
Oh, it is titled Nick. Hey, look at that. Are you good? Should I plug in a mouse?
What?
Are you good with this interface? Or should I-
Oh yeah.
Okay, all right, good.
Hello everyone. I'm Nick. So my game pitch doesn't have a title yet, but the concept is pretty simple. So it's a platformer where you run, jump, and avoid enemies, but of course there's a twist. When you die, you become whatever killed you. So there's going to be a variety of enemies, different monsters that have different strengths and weaknesses. And to complete the level, the key is to use your enemy's powers. So some enemies will jump high. If you get killed by those enemies, you'll get that power. Some enemies will be able to walk on the ceiling, some will run fast. So there's some puzzle elements because you'll have to figure out which enemies to use in different situations. And of course, there's normal platforming mechanics as well. So the visual style I was going for is pixel art, just very simple graphics. And so here are some enemies you could expect. So here's the jumper. It can jump much higher than other enemies. So if you die from this, you'll restart as the jumper and it can be used to reach higher places. There's one called the climber that can stick to the ceiling. So you can use this to cross above dangerous areas. And then we have the runner, which can run a lot faster. And so you can use this to clear large gaps. There's this one that can spit toxic gas that can stun the player. But if you die from it, you can become the burper and it can be used to stun enemies. And then here's one that can move heavy objects. Do you have any questions or?
Did you do that pixel art yourself? Sorry,
No. That's just from the internet.
Very cool. I like your idea.
Thank you.
Malachi, yours is up here. Which one? I'm sorry. That one. There we go. I see your name. All right, go ahead, introduce yourself.
My name is Malachi Ruff, and I'm also part of Professor Cole's class. I haven't really been able to really think of a name, so I just put Definitely Switch. Basically what the story is, there's a man who's like on the verge of death, but he holds valuable information the father needs to find his kidnapped daughter. You have a partner that you work with in the basement. It's like it's based off of like a movie scene, but obviously I twisted it. You have to use this machine to go inside his head to go through different memories before he passes over. How it works, a level-based game, you have to go to different memories, so it's not really a certain color scheme. It's like it could change, so it can go from like being in one location to being a total opposite. When you have to go through collect different information from people that you don't know, so because it's based off the man's memories. The character, once you're in his head, there are characters that know you shouldn't be in his head, and they will try to attack you. Each time you gather information from him, the time alive of the man you're inside, his life tends to shorten faster. The audience, I would say, is for all ages. It's a puzzle game, mystery. If you like challenging type game, and it gets fast paced the more you play it. I said the visual has different scenes. There's a transition where you go from memory to memory. The closer the person is to dying, the darker the lighting gets, and the music will also get much faster. Yeah, that's set thing.
What's up, Ryan?
How's it going, bud?
Oh, not too bad, buddy. Not too bad.
All right.
No.
Burning curtains.
All right. So my name is David, and I'm also part of the class.
Oh,
Go ahead and
hello,
introduce yourself.
I'm Maddie. I just do the art stuff. That's all I'm here for.
Who's also part of the class. So the title for our game pitch is called Burning Curtains. The reason it's called Burning Curtains is because curtains of, play on words is also a synonym for death. So like as the curtains drop, like the end of the play, it's the end. So you can also think about it as being burning death if you wanted to. And then so the player controller is you control a character named Clay who is trying to uncover the truth about the mysterious death of his sister Marana. And Marana is also another name for death in another religion. So the basic gameplay, so it's a 3D story-driven puzzle game where the player must uncover clues about the death of his sister. And as the player progresses through the story, by searching and interacting with nearby objects, to find out what really happened to his sister. Do that. And then, so Clay, he's a teenage boy, about 15 years old. He lives on the family farm. And then at the start of the game, like at the opening cutscene, would be Clay looking at a photo. It's a family photo. Mourning the death of his sister. And then Clay is also able to talk to lost souls who used to live on the property. That's how it also fits the death is useful because they're dead. And then our sounds and effects. So the sounds are going to include the typical gameplay sounds like walking, opening and closing doors and windows. The ambient sound, should be eerie, unsettling music as you walk around the property, inside the barn, inside the house, in the basements. And the particle effects will also include the typical dust, rain, mud, and more. And then the gameplay mechanics is as play uncovers more clues, the puzzles will get progressively more difficult, such as lights going out, batteries going dead, harder to find key components, and more obstacles. And then the UI is also going to be the same typical pause menu, health bar, battery levels. And then we want to keep it to a small inventory. We don't want to go too crazy. So we want to keep it like the max of 5 just at the bottom there. No backpacks, no nothing like that. So it'll show the batteries, the heals, key items. And then the story progress, I think it'd be a great idea to have it displayed on a separate menu as like a journal. If you guys ever played the game Green Hell, they do the same thing. And then our other features and the MVP for it. So the target audience is for people that are fascinated with story-driven games. So if you guys played The Last of Us, Horizon Zero Dawn, the Persona games, or Outlast is more the feel that trying to go for this. And then so we don't overdo ourselves, want to try and keep it for the MVP at a quarter of the way playable with the core mechanics in place. So that way you can still solve puzzles to complete the sequence to move on to the next part of the story. Just because that's a lot. And then here's the timeline for the goals. We can do the concept development is what we're doing now. But I'd say that's pretty reasonable for a quarter of the way through. And then here's the concept art that Maddie drew up. So as you can see, that's Clay there. He's in the barn. And then that arm poking out to the side is like one of the lost souls to show like, hey, we're here. But other than that, that is everything.
Just a few clarifying questions to ask. The first one is on Keela. Was that like 2D, 3D? Okay. 2D top down? Okay. Okay, and that makes sense. And Nick, stylistically, would you also say that it's 2D or 3D or? It's 2D. Both of you, website or tablet / phone goal? Web. Same? Yeah. Okay. Malachi, 2D? Okay, so just gonna say 2D. We're gonna say probably web immediately. All right, so that was 3D. Okay, let's go ahead and put yours up. Go ahead.
Okay, so the title of my pitch for my game is Day in the Life of Death. My name is Tori. I'm also a member of Professor Cole's class. So I kind of approached the theme in a way that death is the main character. So he's personified as the Grim Reaper. And his usefulness is in terms of, in this scenario, his often misunderstood role of collecting human souls. And I kind of wanted to reimagine his role and how we view him. So the whole game is completing missions to collect, sort, cleanse, and deliver souls. And one day you find a kind of soul you've never seen before. So you have to figure out what to do with it. So it would be a level-based RPG. The first few levels would be basic soul collection and kind of getting used to the world. There's different categories of souls. For example, a troubled soul, lost soul, happy souls, and each soul requires a different task in order to get it to the final state, which would be a happy soul. You would want every soul to be happy. So if you find a troubled soul, a lost soul, there would be a different task to do to get it to become a happy soul. So the first few levels would be getting used to that mechanic and kind of getting used to the world in that sense. And then after a few levels, it would introduce the narrative of a new soul that the Grim Reaper has never seen before. So you would have to figure out how to approach getting it into a happy soul, similar to how the other ones have tasks, but you don't know which task you're supposed to do. You're supposed to kind of go on a journey to figure it out. And for that, it would be kind of more talking to NPCs, completing missions, and exploring the world to try to find different ways to get this soul to where it needs to be. So for visual style, I was thinking of making it still kind of along the like darker colors, but also introduce some lighter colors in there and make it kind of fun, cartoonish look and feel. I was leaning towards 3D, but it can also be 2D, depending on what kind of art we can come up with. For the souls, I wanted them to be kind of like glowing orbs. Like if you think of like Inside Out, how the emotions in that movie are the little balls that are different colors for the different emotions. So kind of like that. And color distinguishes which type of soul it is, as well as distinguish environments for different areas of the underworld. For the audience, it's kind of like kids, teens, and young adults, just because of the art style and the kind of simple and fun nature of it. And also for the game type of gamers, explorers, and achievers, there's a lot of opportunities to walk around and explore areas and kind of just discover new things, as well as tasks and achievements in terms of the gameplay. And then for the vision, I was hoping to at least get the basic soul collection part of the game with the different types of souls and the tasks that go along with those, as well as, if possible, a short narrative about the new soul and discovering how to best turn it into a happy soul. And that is all.
All right, I believe we're at Ryan. I will double check real quick. Yes, okay. All right, let me give you screen sharing permissions, just a sec. Permission, security. Oh, let's enable waiting room so that no one sneaks on while we're recording. Okay, allow to share screen. And stop share over here. All right, Ryan, you should be able to.
Let's see.
And do you have 2 or 1?
Just one.
Okay, double check. You know, we were talking, there might be a second. Okay.
Can you see my screen, everyone?
Not yet.
Not yet. Uh-oh. Give me 1 second. Still not. What the heck?
Okay, we can see your screen now.
You can see the metal background.
We can see the metal background and the game.
Could you hear everything?
We cannot hear.
Jeez, man. So are you seeing me right now or are you seeing my screen? It looks like you're seeing
We're
me.
seeing both.
Okay.
We're seeing both your screen and you.
All right.
And again, we're not hearing anything else but you at the moment. So if you're planning on using
Alright.
sound.
Yes, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know why sound probably won't share, but and that's a big thing with our game because our game is all about is really our major thing is music and the audio is like a big, real big thing, but it's all right. I'll share the link so anyone can play it.
Okay, I
So
mean,
we
I think
actually
the
have a
way to
playing-
share is to share the, what is it, the internet exactly, so the exact screen.
Let me see.
Is one way to get around that. Do we remember how to get around Zoom sound issues? I think it was the exact screen, right? It had to be shared. Yeah. So instead of sharing the whole screen, you just share just the, one part. But if that's not working, then we'll just
Let's see here.
imagine.
Yeah, I don't want to waste your guys' time.
Share with audio, okay. Advanced sharing options, one person can share at a time.
Press
Okay,
back
something I can
row.
change over here. Yeah. Okay. All right, let's go
Sure.
ahead and we'll imagine it. If
All right,
you
yeah,
go
I was gonna say,
the build,
technical difficulties I should have
and
figured out.
downtime before voting, I'll have them each kind of play through it, and then maybe they should
Oh.
give us sounds. Does that sound good?
That sounds great. But yeah, I was saying like a big part of our game is music because another team member on our team, Jarrell, is a very good musician, and I dabble with music, so we thought music was a real strong area for us. But we made a. This isn't what our game is going to look like. This was actually made with the platformer template on Unity, and we're going for like a 2D style. We want to incorporate as much as we can of our own stuff. We don't have any artists on our team other than Catherine, and I'm not sure if she does a lot of like pixelated art, but like I've been trying to do a lot of like artwork, and it's getting there. One of our I know we're gonna end up using a lot of like assets on Unity Store, maybe but it's basically going for a lot, like a big audio drive. And a big part of our story is we're gonna have levels based on different styles of music, and our characters got to go in there and basically solve whatever issue these levels are having on. I know with my level, I love metal music, so I picked a metal level, and like I have a certain tones that I want to go for and stuff. And like a huge thing with me was just the music. I realized making this demo, like I had a lot of songs already recorded that were like 5 minutes long, 6 minutes long. So like I went through and I cut a lot of things down, and I did a lot of voiceover like skits. And I realized what was really fun making this demo was that I realized that I can make my bad guy almost like if you ever played Fallout, how almost like they take over the radio kind of like gives you like an idea of like what's going on. Like we kind of want to do this with our game. Is I'm going to have at least in my level, the bad guy's going to basically take over a podcast or radio station, and that way the enemy can like talk to you directly through the radio, which I found like was like a really cool feature in the game. But I'll just play like a little bit right here, guys. But it's just this, we're just basically going to have, it's just all going to be music themes. Like I said, these are just kind of characters right now, but since our character is actually in like a spirit world, it's going to we're basically going to be able to like we're going to do a lot of parodies. We're even doing parodies on Mon River Games. But big thing is like band names, songs, because we legally can't use certain band names for trademark reasons. So like there's definitely going to be like a huge comedy aspect. Like, we want to have a lot of things in the background, like I call it Easter eggs, that like you'll play the game and you might just see certain things. But I'm going to exit full screen. Like we're making, I don't know if you see my screen, but we even made fun of Spy Cats, if you can see, where we made Spy Rats, and we just want to have a lot of fun with it. Right now, like I said, we're still in the writing phase, and we just keep changing things up almost daily. Even for the theme for this pitch, where like Death Matters, we had some issues with our story writing where like we didn't know how our character was going to go from level to level with music. We thought like Time Machine, because we have like a classical music level and stuff, and the Time Machines like played out, and like we thought like, wow, we're gonna have like maybe with the Death Matters, like our character's a spirit or something. Like, so we came up with a music spirit or a soul spirit or something, and like we're gonna have that basically take over, so like it'll be able to travel to like different realms easier, because it just seems easier story writing. It makes more sense than, I don't know, a time machine that goes and saves music. It's just kind of weird, I think. But yeah, that's basically it. If anyone has any questions, or it has anything, I know it's kind of hard. It's really hard to like get the idea of the game, especially with no music. That's like was probably the biggest thing. But I will leave the link, and if anybody wants to try it out, I definitely recommend it. But thank you for your time. You're on mute, Heather.
Okay, Ryan. So if you could leave that link in the Zoom chat as well as the Discord general.
Yeah, I'll do
so that
both.
they can.
Perfect.
Okay. All right, Jackson, it's your turn. Is it up here? Okay, this one?
My name is Jackson. I'm also in the game design class. My game is called Twisted Dreams and Dust. Basically, you're kind of playing as this character. Oh, sorry.
All right, sorry, I forgot to put screen sharing back on. All right, so let's go to Zoom and let's screen share. Continue. Stop one. Okay, and we'll go back. Oops, wrong one. There we go.
Okay. Yeah. Again, my game is called Twisted Dreams and Dust. You're basically following a player who has like recurring nightmare with the same exact monster in his dream over and over again. So in order to end the nightmare, you have to kill the monster that is haunting you. And each time you die, you kind of learn a little bit more about the monster. So then eventually you can end up killing him and then beating the game, ending the nightmare. And I kind of had a 2D platformer in mind where you kind of traverse the level and then you reach the end and it's kind of like a little mini boss event. And then you just keep kind of dying. Basically in the beginning, the monsters are just going to be infinitely better than you. You'll pretty much stand no chance of beating him. And then the more you die, and then the more you get to the end, the stronger you get, and then you can end up killing the boss. And I kind of just had like, since it's a nightmare, I wanted it to be a super like dark, kind of gruesome world with some pretty like weird monster design. I either was like imagining sort of like 8-bit, kind of like the middle picture. I was really kind of liking that style, almost kind of like Hyperlight Drifter, but like dark. And that's kind of the vision I had for it, but it's pretty much my game.
And let's make sure. Okay. Let's go back to hide the controls for a moment so we can see the back button. All right, there you go.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay. All right. Hi, my name's Emma, and I'm also in the advanced video game design class. And this may look familiar to people who saw the last pitch that I did, because it is the last pitch I did, which just adjusted a little bit. I'm going to get into it a little more, but when I was thinking about the theme of like death is useful and stuff like that, made me think about, so my grandpa used to write stories, like ghost stories, where I was the only person who could like communicate between the ghost world and the real world. And so like all growing up, he would read me those stories, and it was just a really cool concept to me as a kid. And I thought about that with this theme, and I was like, oh my gosh, it could work with my other game. So this is kind of adjusted version of my game with the concept of communication between the dead world and the real world. So let's get into it. So yeah, again, the idea summary is kind of like you're an apocalypse survivor, traveling the ruins of the world that is fallen and gone pretty much, trying to barter between ghosts of the world that passed and the people that are still surviving and living, and trying to get information and just bartering goods between them to like keep the peace and try to figure out the mystery of like what happened. So there's a lot of opportunities for like cool writing and things like that. So yeah. And again, this is kind of like a general mood board that I'll kind of get into with themes and colors and stuff like that. Yeah. So yeah, the main change, like I said, is that the main character is also partly dead. And that's the reason that he can, or she or they can communicate with, you know, the dead world and the real world. So yeah, and both worlds kind of need each other to survive, because I was kind of thinking like storyline wise, the people in the ghost world like died because of this terrible apocalypse. So they kind of have this bitterness to them. And the people in the real world obviously are trying to survive in this world that has fallen. So they kind of need each other and are trying to avoid like chaos. So you're trying to deliver items to the people or ghosts who need them. So. And then again, the Pop Tropica inspo, just mainly with like the setup of the compass, I think is a huge inspiration for me. And kind of like here, I don't know, for people that have played the game, you'll know this, but the green ones are the ones that are already accomplished. So I think like from a UI standpoint, that could kind of be another thing utilized, as well as differentiating between Ghost World and Real World. But essentially like every time, like from the beginning of the game, you have this compass to kind of go in between the worlds and can like constantly access that and like access the different levels, kind of like we have in Spy Cats with the folders, but constantly accessible. I just like think that'd be a really cool aspect for, you know, people to work on with that. Yeah, so trying to find the items for the specific people and kind of trade between them, the same kind of concept that was in this Pop Tropica game that I love and miss so much. All right. And then for the gameplay and setup, it'd be definitely 2D and tons of creative freedom for art. There would not be like a certain specific theme people would need to stick to. You know, I think it could have some really cool aspects with like differentiating between levels and such. But it, like I said, it would start with an opening scene with the compass and kind of giving the player like a description of what kind of happened, which again would be a huge story kind of writing opportunity for people that vibe with that. And yeah, so it's constantly going through and exploring levels, definitely like world exploration type based game. And I also think it'd be cool for any of the levels in the like ghost world to kind of be based on the way that they died. Like say they died from like a sickness or something like that. It could be like aspects of that around it. I don't know, just tons of creative freedom and yeah, moving along. This would be like a general color scheme. Again, like depending on different levels, you wouldn't have to stick to that. This would just kind of be like the main level or like the main character design. Yeah, and I kind of got that from these Walking Dead flyers, which I also had in my last previous thing, but I just really like the look of them and how the colors work together. So I think maybe for like an opening scene, that'd be cool. Yeah. And again, I really like maximalist fashion, but this wouldn't have to be for everybody. But I think having some aspects of just like funky kind of clothing and stuff like that, or just like funky kind of art, I think would be a really cool aspect to really hit that fantasy part of it. And like every character would have their own styles. Obviously, this is just something I think would be cool maybe for the main character. And another inspiration that I have that I also mentioned in the last one was the Lego movie and the way of like that last scene when people are kind of using the things that they had around them in destruction to like create their worlds, like in these pictures, like the trash thing and, you know, Wild West and the ice cream truck. I think that'd be really cool to bring into it, maybe for like types of villains or stuff like that. But the past few slides have mainly just been like kind of art or creative inspiration behind it. But the main point of the game would be to kind of go between these worlds, try to find items and trade items between people and ghosts and all in between. So yes, thank you so much.
Right, yeah, come on up. All right, so let's go ahead and escape. Come on. Escape. Okay. Whoops. Right, can you find yours here?
Yep.
Okay, great.
I'm Zach. I'm also a member of Heather's class. And my game is 13 seconds. So my basic gist of my game, it's a first person puzzle narrative. You awaken in a closed room but you die every 13 seconds. So you gotta solve like it's like an escape room type of, I had an escape room kind of idea where you have to solve the puzzles within the time limit of your like 13 seconds to like escape the room and uncover the mystery about the death and where you are and why you're in this room. As you uncover more about the room, I have like some sort of like checkpoint system where your lifespan will like incrementally increase. So it starts at 13, but I'm thinking maybe as the room as you start to solve puzzles, your lifespan increases just a little bit to keep the tension there. And then you'll also have access to like some old, I'm thinking like some old camera that you can only take, has like one piece of film, like you could take only one image that will carry over from one life to the next. So if you die, that image will stay. Some inspirations I had for this game was a really big inspiration was a Minecraft custom map that was like from a long time ago. It's called 72 Seconds. It's the same kind of idea that you have 72 seconds to complete the map, and then it just resets if you don't within the time span. And then a roguelike with like Hades, because in Hades, like the main goal is if you like don't get far enough in the game, you'll die and be sent back to the start. You have to like work your way up through all the dungeons again, and then like rinse and repeat. Some like mechanics that I had thought of for like the room and how to solve puzzles would be like you can interact with probably, I would say, most of the objects in the room. Like I was thinking maybe locks, sliding puzzles, flipping through books, looking in picture frames and like around and like behind picture frames for like information, opening drawers, breakable objects, and maybe you can like throw objects around the room to break stuff, as well as the camera, as mentioned before. And then for like the target audience, I was thinking of people who like narrative-based puzzle games and people who like puzzles and like a challenge, with also people who like games with an underlying sense of mystery and like tense situations, because you're going to be trying, while you're trying to escape a room, you're also simultaneously trying to figure out why you're in the room. And then people who enjoy escape rooms in real life, obviously, like myself. And then I think should be another slide, but it's not. I thought I had another slide, but it's not like clicking. I guess that's all my slides. I had a, I can't go to the next slide, but I had a slide for the arrow. Oh, there we go. I just was in the touchpad. My MVP for this would be one completable room with solvable puzzles and assets, and like a narrative for the level. That could be expanded maybe with multiple different rooms that have maybe even different time limits of life, or like the time limits increased or something like that. And then for the art style, I don't have a slide on this, but I was thinking maybe somewhere like it's first person narrative. I'm not really sure what the art style could be. You could really go any direction with this. I was thinking maybe it's like something maybe like dark and dreary. But yeah, that's basically it. Yeah. I was thinking 3D.
There we go. That worked this time. Did not work last time.
Yeah, mine's.
Go ahead.
Okay. All right, I put mine in a folder for some reason, like a nerd, but I'll pull it up. Okay, so I'm calling my game Death Spawn. That's a working title. I'm Caleb. I'm also part of the game's design class. I should have talked to Nick before. Our concepts are very similar, and I had no idea. But you play as a protagonist known only as the Messenger. This is him. And you're fighting against an evil army that's way bigger than him and anything you can imagine. It explores the theme of death is useful, which I'll get into in a second. And you experience a wide variety of combat and enemy types, because whenever you die, you respawn as the enemy that kills you. You get the way they look, you get their weapons. So like at the beginning of the game, you start out with only your fists. And as you progress through the levels, enemies will have better weapons, and you'll want to be strategic about who you let kill you, so you can try and get better weapons and get farther in the game. I wrote an example. If you progress to the point where you have like a pistol, but then an enemy punches you to death, you'll go back to the fists until you let somebody else kill you. And also I was thinking about the idea of having like environmental hazards as well, where like if you died by fire, you'd come back with like fire powers, but we'll see how that works. I want it to be like a 2D beat 'em up kind of game, like these TMNT ones that I put the picture up. I think you'd start out kind of in like a street, and then you work your way into like a big headquarters. You have to defeat all the enemies in the area before you can move on. You start the game with 3 respawns, like into a new enemy, but you can pick up more as you go along. But the final boss has the ability to kill you permanently, which sends you back to the beginning of the game. So you just kind of have to try it again. I think if you like rated T, it's going to be violent, but nothing like crazy violent. I think players who would like it would be people who like combat in a challenge. I imagine it's a really fast-paced game, so I think if you're into that, that could be for you. Oh, I went too far. Hold on. Oh, okay. Like I said, it'd be very fast-paced. Large replayability factor because there's so many different enemies and weapons and stuff. Hit the button. Oh, I'm so bad at using this. Hold on. Okay. I just kind of threw a random hour estimate of time it would take, but I want a lot of different enemy types and stuff, so it could take a minute, but I guess that just depends. And yeah, that's me.
All right, so it's probably gonna take me a few minutes to set this up, but those of you that have gone through multiple pitches with me in the past know that I like to do something a little bit different outside of Discord, which is kind of like a website system that uses ranked choice voting, especially when we have this many people. So I'm gonna go ahead and set that up. I'm gonna stop screen share for a little bit, and then I'm gonna put the link over on Zoom as well as Discord. You only vote once. And the deal is that there'll be multiple selections, and you put those selections in the order of preference. Meaning, if you're not sure who to vote for, go back to that drive folder and take a look through people's projects. And again, put them in order of preference. Okay. So I'm going to stop screen share at this point. And I'm going to pause the feed as well. So just a sec. All right. Drum roll, please. Okay. All right. So the winner is Emma, One Man's Trash. And again, you can check to see how they're doing the calculations. It's a lot of fun. If you're looking for that, you can see where you ranked in each round 1 through 3. If you didn't win, you know, all the ideas were pretty great. So don't take it personally. But you know, we're always looking for more ideas in the future. We usually do this once a semester. And all members, current or former, are allowed to pitch at these once a semester things. So if yours didn't get pitched selected this time, you are allowed to come back in the future if you'd like and pitch virtually or in person. So that about sums it up for today. Unless there are any questions, I'm going to go ahead and dismiss. Are there any questions? No? And Emma, you have a little bit of homework. So start to plan out and think about how each member of the team can do something or do part of this. Okay. All right. I will see you next week. All right, Ryan and Etch. Nice seeing you guys today.
Absolutely.
Sure you guys don't have any questions or anything?
I just have questions on what we're going to do for BitBridge for the weekend.
Sorry, you
Am I
cut out
meeting
there
up
for a
with you?
moment because I switched to my device. Let's try that again. Whoops. Stop recording.